We have a problem, and that's that people don't take accountability. So, in our current system, we have a constitution. And what that means is that if your constitutional rights are violated, you're screwed. You supposedly have some right to sue. Good luck. On the other hand, in a proper and just system of law, you don't need a constitution because you have anti-corruption laws. Now, these anti-corruption laws have teeth. So what ends up happening are public officials have to be aware of the anti-corruption laws, because if they don't, they can get sued by their victims, they can get arrested by the king. It's not going to be a good scene. Now, what are those anti-corruption laws? Well, it's actually very simple. It's the crime of extortion under the color of official right. Extortion simply means to obtain. Under the color means for private third-party benefit. An official right means with an official act. So when a judge issues an order that one litigant is to pay another litigant, that is obtaining for the benefit of a private third party with an official act. That is corruption. In order to do such a thing, you would need a jury. Now, when you have a just system and with accountability, what would happen is that judge can be sued by their victim. Furthermore, a king would not tolerate his employee to do such a thing. Why would the king want to transfer wealth from one of his subjects to another? It seems very odd that the king would want to do so. So that seems more like an act of corruption. If the king wants to give one of his subjects wealth or money, he could do so. He doesn't need to do this transfer. On the other hand, public officials need to engage in this transfer in order to corruptly obtain. So once you start making public officials accountable to their acts of corruption, corruption is going to stop. Now, how do you make them accountable? It's quite simple. Right now, if somebody commits a crime right in front of me, say like my mother, my brother, my sister, I can say nothing. And if they get busted, nothing happens to me. Right? I'm innocent. That's not true. That is bull crap. In order to have a just system of law, those people who remain silent need to be held accountable. So historically, there was a law called the breach of the king's peace. You see, if someone committed a felony, or had in fact committed a felony, and the victim didn't appreciate this, they would go and scream at the police or the king to help arrest the perpetrator. So what would end up happening is the king's peace gets breached because people are screaming for him to help. So instead of him being allowed to just, do whatever the king does, he's being bothered by all sorts of people that they need his help. So this crime is something that today, modernly, we seem to say is, screaming in public, like breach of the peace. We don't even use the word kings anymore. And, well, I don't appreciate someone screaming in public. I don't think it should be a crime. I think that people should be allowed to be emotional and allowed to express themselves. And we don't need to arrest people for having emotional outbursts. What we need to do is arrest people for being silent when they know someone had in fact committed a felony. But hey, long live the king.